Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. Two lawyers are suing hospitals for allegedly wrongful deaths. That's based on a certain protocol that was used for patients that were said to have COVID. And a state senator talks about her efforts to make human trafficking a more serious crime in California. Though little progress was made this last legislative session, she is not giving up. 3 hospitals are facing lawsuits alleging they used a controversial antiviral drug that led to wrongful death. NTD's Daniel Hall hears from the attorneys, who are arguing that the hospitals did not give patients informed consent and may have had financial incentives for overdiagnosing COVID cases.
In the Fresno, California area, 2 attorneys announced lawsuits on September 7th against 3 medical centers over alleged wrongful deaths related to COVID-19 treatments. The attorneys, representing 14 families, alleged that patients were not given informed consent about the potential dangers of taking the drug Remdesivir.
Remdesivir is a drug that was tested in some Ebola trials a few years back. During those tests, it killed 53.1% of all the people that it was given to. It was considered far too dangerous to be used, and it was pulled from the Ebola trial and banned.
Michael Hamilton, one of the lawyers suing the medical centers, added that the WHO concluded in a study that Remdesivir should never be given to COVID patients regardless of their symptoms. But in the United States, Hamilton talked about the Remdesivir protocol. He alleges that it happens across the country in a similar way. Hospitals tell patients they have COVID pneumonia. They're placed on Remdesivir, then isolated from their families, put in an ICU, intubated, and if they resist, they're tied down and sedated.
And the average time to death for somebody in this situation is, as I understand it, about 9 days.
Hamilton said that hospitals charge about $3,200 for regular COVID outpatient services. But for inpatient cases, what hospitals call non-complex cases, run about $111,000. Complex inpatient cases, which the Remdesivir protocol falls under, is roughly $450,000 per patient.
On top of that, the government has incentivized the use of Remdesivir by offering a 20% bonus if a hospital uses it as an exclusive remedy, which on a $450,000 charge rate is roughly an extra $90,000.
The lawsuit alleges Remdesivir received emergency use authorization in or around May of 2020 after being recommended by an NIH panel that contained 9 individuals with financial ties to its creator, Gilead Sciences. Daniel Watkins, another attorney also suing, alleges that the hospitals violated informed consent procedures in these cases.
The lawsuits are in fact predicated on 2 concepts. One is medical deception, and 2 is unconsented to medical care. You have these facilities intentionally withholding information that's critical to the decision-making process for the patient. Then on top of that, we have several of our clients who, despite objecting to the use of Remdesivir, were in fact administered the drug as part of the protocol.
Watkins said there are 3 main goals from the cases.
1, they want to bring awareness to the use of Remdesivir so other people can go in, when they have to go into the medical facilities, know what what's in front of them if Remdesivir is being offered, and they can say no. They're also seeking, like I said, to stop the use of Remdesivir. And then, of course, they're seeking compensation for the losses that they've experienced.
The hospitals involved are the St. Agnes Medical Center, Community Regional Medical Center, and Clovis Community Medical Center. The 3 medical centers said they could not comment on pending litigation. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
In the state of California, human trafficking is still considered a nonviolent and non-serious crime. After multiple attempts to try to change the classification of the crime, the proposals failed to pass in the state's legislation. NTD News heard from Republican Senator Shannon Grove regarding her countless efforts to try to change the law.
According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, California is one of the largest sites for human trafficking across the United States. Just this year alone, there have been over 1,300 reported human trafficking cases in the state.
California does not consider human trafficking a serious and violent felony. And our goal was to make it a serious and violent felony.
Republican Senator Shannon Grove authored both Senate Bill 1042 and Assembly Bill Amendment 2167. These bills were an attempt to reclassify human trafficking as a serious and violent felony. Ultimately, neither of these bills passed by an overwhelming majority vote by the Democrats. NTD spoke with Senator Grove regarding her efforts to try to pass these bills.
When we ran SB 1042, it was just a justice and punishment issue, right? If you buy and sell a human being in modern day slavery, especially in the sex trade or for indentured servitude, it just really touched my heart and thought, those people are actually really, really evil that do this. And so I wanted to make sure that we address that for the state of California.
Earlier this year, after SB 1042 was introduced, members of the committee heard from multiple victims of human trafficking. One victim, Odessa Des Perkins, who is both an intervention counselor and a teacher, talked in April about her personal experiences of being trafficked as a child.
As a little girl, I should have been playing with Barbie dolls. I should have been wearing cute dresses. But instead, I was put on perfume, nice clothing, and I was penetrated. I was molested. I was raped, and I was sold to the highest bidder, which is an act of modern-day slavery. Here is a bill, SB 1042. During my time, this bill was not active. Maybe if it had been, maybe I would have felt safe and I would have reported it.
Perkins goes on to tell of another recent account of a 9th grade student that showed the signs of a possible trafficking victim. She later found out that the female was being trafficked. Senator Grove also said that she has heard countless and heart-wrenching stories from survivors, including that of a young girl who was trafficked by her own mother.
People aren't punished for crimes anymore, including human trafficking. We had victim after victim come and testify at the committee hearing, and they kept saying, when they hear my story, Ms. Grove, they are going to change their mind. And what was really sad is that the Public Safety Committee didn't change their mind.
Although both bills failed to pass in the state of California, Senator Grove commented that she will continue her fight to pass these laws. She hopes to work collectively with the Democratic lawmakers to get them on board with changing the laws regarding human trafficking crimes.
There are hundreds of thousands of stories out there of survivors that have survived this horrific crime. And my goal next year is to continue to use the collaboration that we built with district attorneys, law enforcement, nonprofits, and survivors, and many other everyday Californians to stop or at least reduce the opportunity for traffickers to be able to take advantage of women and children anywhere in the state of California.
The California State Legislature adjourned on August 31st and will reconvene in January 2023.
A court in San Francisco has announced that they will erase millions of dollars in traffic fine late fees issued in the city. The debt relief is part of a statewide reform effort to lower unfair and unnecessary fines and fees. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
$50 million in civil assessments have been erased by a San Francisco court. The city treasurer's office announced the move in a statement last week. A civil assessment is a $300 fee issued when a person doesn't pay a traffic court fine on time or fails to appear in court. The city eliminated 180,000 of these fees. The action is in line with Assembly Bill 199, which also changes the fee from $300 to $100 moving forward. Revenue from these fees will now be collected into California's general fund instead of to local courts. This change aims to shift any incentive courts might have to issue more fines or fees. Ann Stuhl-Dreyer, director of the Financial Justice Project in the Office of San Francisco Treasurer Jose Cisneros, said, quote, California should not fund our local courts by asking the courts to impose fees that they benefit from. Courts should be funded separate and apart from these fees. Eliminating the debt from this unfair and unnecessary fee and lowering it is a common sense reform and an important step forward. It will bring relief to hundreds of thousands of Californians. All fees issued before July 1st, 2022 are now erased. Fees issued after have been reduced to $100. According to last week's statement issued by the San Francisco Treasurer's Office, about 1/3 of traffic fines in the city were not paid on time and issued the fee. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. A Los Angeles Mayoral candidate had her house robbed earlier this month. The suspects stole firearms. We'll have an update on who they are. Over the weekend, the volunteers went out to clean up California's shores. We'll hear from several of those volunteers. And while state water supplies are low, outdoor enthusiasts are still finding fun at state lakes and rivers. A reporter went to one scenic spot to see how drought may be affecting the fun. That and more on California Today. Two men in Los Angeles have been charged with breaking into the home of mayoral candidate Representative Karen Bass. The pair are being charged with burglary and grand theft of a firearm.
42-year-old Patricio Munoz and 24-year-old Juan Espinoza have pleaded not guilty to one felony count of first-degree residential burglary and 2 counts of grand theft of a firearm. The pair are accused of breaking into the home of Democratic Representative Karen Bass on September 9th and stealing 2 guns. District Attorney George Gascon said in a statement that he will be holding the people responsible for the break-in accountable and that, quote, everyone deserves to be safe in their home. He added, residential burglary is a violation of that safety in the most fundamental way. Gun thefts have increased since the pandemic began. Many of these stolen guns are then used to commit violent crimes. The 2 men are due back in a Los Angeles courtroom on September 30th to determine if there is sufficient evidence to require them to stand trial.
A tech convention returns to San Francisco after a 2.5-year hiatus. People can expect crowded streets downtown.
Dreamforce, an annual conference hosted by tech giant Salesforce, is back in San Francisco at the Moscone Center. About 40,000 people are expected to attend from September 20th to 22nd. The theme is Calling All Trailblazers. According to the company's announcement, it returns for, quote, 3 full days of learning, connection, fun, and giving back. The event could generate $40 million for the city. In a statement, Mayor London Breed said, events like these help with economic recovery and builds excitement and energy in the city. According to the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, there will be traffic congestion and road closures. It encourages people to take public transportation or use other routes.
Locals at one California beach on the Central Coast volunteered over the weekend to clean up litter. We spoke to some volunteers to hear why they came out.
The International Coastal Cleanup Day was held this year on September 17th. It takes place all over the world once a year on the 3rd Saturday of September. EcoSlow, a California environmental center, came out to help clean up waste from entering the ocean through San Luis Obispo County's Morro Bay.
I just think it's a wonderful opportunity for families and communities and to get the kids involved because we live here and we want to keep it nice and clean.
Another volunteer talked about the benefit of getting kids involved.
And it's always good to get children involved when they're younger, so they don't, when they're older, so they don't litter the beach, so we can stop the trash before it even goes to the beach.
Part of the cleanup is to bring cleanliness and purity back to nature.
Kind of surprised how much trash is everywhere, but not too much.
I'm actually surprised how many little pieces of trash there are, and I didn't realize that that has a huge impact on birds especially, so it feels good to, I've never noticed that there's actual trash, little pieces of trash everywhere.
Longtime volunteer of EcoSlow, Maureen Abert, has noticed a reduction in the trash that they have been picking up at the beach.
A lot of people, are bringing their own cups and things like that, and these plastic bottles are down.
The volunteers organization EcoSlow allows for monthly neighborhood cleanup programs in their county. They remind guests at the beach to do what they can to keep the shores as clean as they found them.
Water levels are receding at many of California's lakes and reservoirs, but the communities they serve still need water for a number of purposes. NTD's Bill Thomas checks in with an update on the health of a decades-old lake in Southern California.
California is home to many lakes and reservoirs, and several of those facilities provide a variety of activities for locals and for visitors. They also provide a great deal of drinking water for thirsty communities. However, as California continues to struggle through a debilitating drought, how long will these bodies of water remain viable? To find out, we visited Lake Casitas here in Ventura County. This scenic body of water is surrounded by the sprawling Los Padres National Forest, and it sits just below the picturesque city of Ojai. The lake attracts visitors from nearby Santa Barbara County, and it's about a 90-minute journey from downtown Los Angeles. Tyrone Lefay, Public Affairs and Water Conservation Manager for the Casitas Municipal Water District, gave some background on this 64-year-old complex.
History of Lake Casitas goes back to the 50s as a Bureau of Reclamation project that also includes the Robles Diversion Facility along the Ventura River. So it's owned by the Bureau of Reclamation but managed by Casitas Municipal Water District. Lake Casitas was first opened to the public in 1958.
Casitas is a massive complex, and while the lake isn't empty, it's important to point out that right now, water levels are down by a significant amount.
Lake Casitas is roughly about 1,500 acres. Its capacity is about 238,000 acre feet of water. We're currently at about 74,000 acre feet of water, or roughly 31% of its capacity. We have about 15 miles of shoreline. The last time Lake Casitas was at full capacity was 2005.
The walls along the Lake Casitas shoreline paint a dramatic picture regarding receding water levels.
They really do. You can see behind me to the lowering lake level. You can see the oak tree line. That's really the level of water when we're at capacity, so you can see really how low we've gotten.
Lefay says Lake Casitas receives water from a variety of sources. 40 to 50% of the water comes from the Robles Conversion Facility on the Ventura River, while the remaining amounts come from local tributaries. The lake also provides water for 64,000 resale, residential, and agricultural customers, and he says right now there's more water going out than there is coming in. Despite the water levels, there's still adventure to be had at the lake.
Absolutely a viable source for recreation, regardless of the lake level. Our customers have done a tremendous job at conserving and prolonging our water supply.
The lake still offers a host of activities.
There are many opportunities for recreation at the Lake Casitas recreation area, including boating, fishing. There's also a rowing club that operates out of here. We have over 400 camping sites. Disc golf course, so there's many opportunities for recreation here.
I love to come up to the lake to visit with my friend Lori, who has a kayak here, and we enjoy the water and kayaking, and we see deer and blue heron, and it's just lovely to be outside here at the lake.
The last 20 years I've been on Lake Casitas as a kayaker, and every time you go out on that lake you see something wonderful and different.
Guests can keep their eyes peeled for a wide range of wildlife.
You might see a host of wildlife, primarily a lot of bird watching here. We do actually even have a couple of resident eagles that nest here annually, but bears, coyotes, snakes, everything.
From this reporter's personal experience, watch out for bees and red ants.
We have a great website where folks can go to find out more information. It's casitaswater.org. There's plenty of information on there about the lake recreation area, the water park, fishing, boating, camping reservations, also about the local water supplies in our area.
While the statewide drought is having a substantial impact on the health of many of our water resources, Lake Casitas here in Ventura County continues to quench the thirst of their many customers, while at the same time providing recreation for those thirsting for fun. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
Now let's check in with NTD's Thomas Christian for today's Sports Roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Former American League Cy Young Award winner David Price plans to retire after the 2022 season. Price, in his second season with the Los Angeles Dodgers, has compiled a 157-82 record with 5 teams over 14 seasons. He won the Cy Young in 2012 with the Tampa Bay Rays, the team that drafted him #1 overall in 2007, and finished second in the voting 2 other times. Now 37, Price is a 5-time All-Star and won the ERA title twice. This season, working out of the bullpen, Price is 2-0 with a 2.58 ERA with 1 save in 38 appearances. He has 37 strikeouts over 38 1/3 innings. In addition to the Dodgers and Tampa Bay, Price has pitched for Detroit, Toronto, and Boston. He won the World Series with the Red Sox in 2018. San Francisco 49ers quarterback Trey said he underwent successful surgery to treat the season-ending right ankle injury he suffered during Sunday's game and that a full recovery is expected. Lance posted on Twitter on Monday alongside a photo of him smiling in a hospital bed and his right leg in a cast. Quote, "Truly appreciate all of the messages and prayers." The surgery aimed to repair 2 injuries in Lance's ankle, a fibula fracture, and a ligament disruption, the 49ers said. Head team physician Tim McAdams said he was confident that the 22-year-old would recover completely in time for a full return in the 2023 season. The 49ers selected the dynamic Lance with the 3rd overall pick of the 2021 draft, and he was expected to assume the franchise's starting quarterback role this season. They will have to wait after the injury setback, which he suffered on a running play in the first quarter of the 49ers' 27-7 Week 2 win over the visiting Seattle Seahawks. With Lance sidelined, veteran quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to start under center for the 49ers for the remainder of the season. The NBA and the Players Association are expected to agree to reduce the minimum draft age from 19 to 18 by 2024. The change would open the door for high school players to walk off the graduation stage and enter straight into the NBA draft. The league previously changed the draft age from 18 to 19 in 2005. The league and union have a mutual opt-out of the current collective bargaining agreement coming up December 15th. Both the league and the NBA Players Association are eager to reduce the draft age, per a report. The sides have been in discussions about tweaks and additions and have another in-person meeting scheduled for this week. Other changes reportedly being discussed are adding a mental health designation to injury reports, harsher luxury tax penalties, and an emphasis on fan civility.
And that's all for sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or through email california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.